what's your own background in reconciliation? How you became involved, what has inspired you, and why you continue to promote it?
I come from a Hindu Christian family to begin with, because that's background. That's a living background which I come. My family still remains a Hindu. My parents are Christians, but two of my elder brothers still remain Hindus. So when I began my theological journey, it was actually a very good experience to be with my Hindu brothers and Hindu neighbors and Muslim neighbors. So it was more of, it was really not that we need to do something for reconciliation, but it was already, that's our own background, our own living context. Every day I come out of the house, I see my neighbors, or at home I used to see my brothers who go to the temple. So this was more of a context, and my own interpretation of reconciliation in the book also is based on that background. So rather than reconciliation only as conflict resolution, it's more of a process. It's an everyday experience.
Now that is a very interesting point, because everybody, and I've had to learn not to think about it, not to think this way. Everybody, when they hear the word reconciliation, they think you can't have reconciliation until you've had a fight.
Yes.
And there was an English football manager of Liverpool who once said, I like to teach my lads to get their retaliation in first. And I misquote that deliberately to say we need to learn to get our reconciliation in first, before the conflict, not just afterwards.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
And you make this point really very interestingly.
Yeah. And
where does that come from in your theological thinking?
Yeah. Now, so that is a family context. Now I come from the Church of South India.
Yes.
Which is now with the ecumenical approach that the church has, and ever since I began my theological journey, the ecumenical vision of the Church of South India has always impacted me up to a great extent, and that is something again a living context in which I lived. But it was actually, just to give a background, I converted to Christianity at the age of 7, and I was the first one to do in my family. But that's because of how the local church received me and how they were open to me, welcoming towards me. So that's the background. But when I began my theological education at the age of 17, so I went to a seminary. But then after that, I had 1 year parish ministry in Chennai, then 1 year of involvement in interfaith organizations in my district. Then I came to Bangalore to an ecumenical college, United Theological College, and maybe that was a time I was also introduced to various other interfaith and ecumenical institutions in Bangalore, in and around Bangalore. That played a huge role in my theological journey. Now, after my PhD in Edinburgh, I went back to India. Then I worked in Pune in a college called Union Biblical Seminary, which is evangelical in theology but ecumenical in the organization. So that's again gave me a very different experience. So yeah, this is a background that has been kind of constantly helping me to reflect on the importance of reconciliation and communion and cooperation and coming together. And I would also want to add one thing, that is, when I was completing my Bachelor of Divinity at UTC, I got a chance to come to Canterbury for the seminary and schools in Anglican spirituality. And that was actually a very turning point for me, because we were asked to reflect on our theological education and formation when I prepared to come. And that actually really gave me a very good, that influenced me a lot to think and reflect about how my background played a role in my theological journey.
That's very interesting. I'm glad it was Canterbury.
Yeah.
So,